Hey everybody, how's it going? Brad the Guitarologist here, and I've got a weird one for you today. This is, I'm not sure what year this is from. I'm coming to this absolutely cold, with the exception of a couple of bits of knowledge, and that is that this thing is rare, and it is a bit of a regional curiosity in my neck of the woods. This is a Walco amplifier. This was built in Wallins, Kentucky, or Wallins Creek, Kentucky, which is in extreme southeastern Kentucky, basically in the mountain region, kind of Appalachian, Harlan County area, basically. Actually, I grew up in western Kentucky, so this is kind of from the other end of the state from where I grew up, but at the same time, it's a bit of a weird regional curiosity. Let's take a little closer look at it. Well, like I said, this thing is a Walco, obviously because of the Wallins connection. You can see the speaker cone in there is an aluminum speaker cone, and I've looked at the back and it's actually an Eminence, which makes sense because Eminence are made in Kentucky as well. Made in the USA, of course. On-off switch. These knobs are pretty much your generic kind of knobs. This one is very stuck. I don't know if that's because of the pot shaft being stuck or if that's because of this thing is not screwed on correctly. But that's just a very unforgiving pot. Actually, all these feel kind of sticky. So we're going to have to do something about that. Main thing I notice is right here, you see this kind of chevron thing here. This thing has been smacked. And you can see right there the damage that's been done. It's even worse in the back. Let's turn it around. We may have to do something, well, we're going to definitely have to do something about that. But I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do. But for now, we can see that there's a 3 amp fuse missing. And I'm guessing that might have something to do with it blowing, perhaps. And then somebody took it out to replace it and never got around to it. Then we can see our Wallins Electronic Manufacturing Company, Wallins, Kentucky. What a weird, weird thing. So yeah, just judging by the, the things like the warning here on the back and the screen printing and the serial number, and they actually have a model number and everything, it looks like they actually made a concerted attempt here to make a actual product. This isn't something that was run off in somebody's garage or tool shed or something, This was, it looks like they had a manufacturing thing going in Wallins, Kentucky, which I never knew about. I never would have guessed it. They have a 1977, 38th week of 1977, Eminence speaker in here. Nice Alnico speaker. That one is a 10-inch speaker. Real nice one. I would guess that that's probably the original speaker, and that's probably from around the time this was made. So 1977, 78, something like that. That's around the time I was born, actually. Interesting. We've got a warranty card in here to go with it. Let's see. Warranty registration card. So that, again, this is another piece of evidence that tells me that this wasn't just some fly-by-night thing. They actually went through the trouble of manufacturing these to a standard, I guess. Hell, maybe they even took them to NAMM, I don't know. But there's that. Wallins Electronics Manufacturing Company, Wallins, Kentucky. Very interesting. Let's take this back door off. There's actually a couple little back doors here. Let's take these both off. And also, I can already tell that our transformer situation is not right. It looks like somebody pulled the power transformer that was over here, and there's a different transformer in its place, and it looks like an output transformer, so I'm thinking this thing might end up being parts. Okay, here's the bottom back door off, and we can see the little reverb tank. This is a Folded Line Reverb Tank by OC Electronics Incorporated. It says manufactured by beautiful girls in Milton, Wisconsin, under controlled atmosphere conditions. How cool is that? You wouldn't be able to get away with anything like that today. That's kind of cute. And it's much smaller than, I don't know how wide this is, maybe 12 inches, something like that. We need to have a couple of screws up in here. We need to get this other back door off, and we'll get those screws out, and let's get this chassis out of here and take a look at it. Okay, here's that other back door removed, and we can see that this entire cabinet is made out of like a pressboard material. The baffle, the sides, I'm sure the top as well. That's probably the reason why it's broken. But this whole thing, you know, the whole cabinet is not made out of anything special here, so that's kind of what I suspected I would see. Hopefully the speaker at least is in good shape. It kind of looks like it may be in good shape, and that will at least salvage the money that I put into this, which was 10 bucks. I got this from a local picker friend of mine. He goes and finds me things sometimes, and this is one of the odd little finds that he managed to pick up. So, you know, I'm not out a lot of money for it, and I would like to actually get it going to hear what it sounds like, but I'm thinking this is going to be our issue. We have one transformer, and look at it. You can make a carnival ride out of that thing. The other big glaring problem I see with this and the way that it's built is that it's held in with wood screws, with shallow wood screws into chipboard material. It doesn't even go all the way through. It's not like you have hardware on the outside and a couple of holes and washers, you know, to hold it in. You're just basically being held in by by a wing and a prayer on both sides of this. So yeah, not the best way to hold up a chassis. All right, all the screws are out. This thing just came right off. The leads on this speaker are just hanging there. So this has been desoldered and also broken off. So I'm gonna have to do something about that. I'll put that back on there to salvage that speaker. But you can see there the chassis is just bent all to hell as well in that same spot. Look at that. Look at that. And boy, look at that. Look at this thing flopping. Look at this. Look at that. That's fantastic as well. Here's a little better look at the cabinet without the chassis, and we'll get a look at the damage on top here. In the top, is that kind of hard to tell, but at first, but yeah, it is definitely still a chipboard material, and you can see how it's just cracked all the way through. So I could do something, I'm sure, to reinforce that and to get that back, you know, together like it should be. It would only be worth it to me because this thing is it's local Kentucky history. I've never seen another one except online. I've seen one other one that's on Reverb. That's the only other one I've ever seen, and I only saw it after I found this one. A couple of screws on this side are coming out. So somebody was trying to take the baffle out, I guess, at one point. They may have even succeeded in taking the baffle out. Maybe that's why they yanked the speaker leads out of the terminal. Okay, first things first, once again, got this huge Mallory capacitor. What is this? This is a 300, no, that's a 3000 microfarad at 50 volts. And it is just pulled right out of the tip. But this is good news right here. We have a output transformer inside here. So that means that this is indeed our power transformer. And see, because I was noticing a couple of extra holes here. This one here and this one here. I don't know what they're all about, but they are not, let's see, what are they all about? Oh, those are for the standoffs. So yeah, we lucked out on that. Because when I first got this thing, you know, again, I paid 10 bucks and I was looking at this and I was like, holy crap, there's no way. And I, you know, pushed this around like this. I was like, man, you know, I would like to see if it works and all, but holy crap, this is just going to be a big pain in the ass. So, you know, we settle on 10 bucks for the price because frankly, you know, I'm not even sure if I can fix it even now, really, and make it serviceable. We have some 2N3055s. These are Motorola parts. See if we can get a close-up on those. Got a pair of them there. I'm sure that's the push-pull output. Got another one there. And they're attached just directly to the chassis, so that'll act as your heat sink. Got some more preamp transistors here. 3565. 3565s, it looks like. There's one right there. There's another Motorola. That's a 2N30. What is that? A 3053. There's another 3565. Another one there. I'm sure that's the first stage right there. So, but it should be interesting. You know, again, we haven't done very many solid state repairs, so it should be interesting. But look at the state of this chassis over here, man. This thing is just, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it because it's really hard to, but look at this. This whole thing is just bent to hell. So what I think I might do is desolder, and this is probably gonna be the first order of business. I will desolder this power transformer, get it out of the way momentarily, and then see if I can bend this chassis back. I'm gonna have to hammer it probably back into position. I'll have to remove this little bracket here on the side, hammer it back flat, flatten this thing back out, because this is just, you know, we're gonna have to do something about it regardless, and also do something about that top. Well, taking the hardware off is going to be a piece of cake. It's not even finger tight. So we can just pull that right out of there. Also, this board, look at this. This whole board is just wiggling on these standoffs. These aren't even tightened down. Look at this. Look at the ground lug here. This isn't tightened at all. So little things like this. You know, if we tighten this board, if we straighten this out, if we get this power transformer mounted correctly, get a new fuse, fix this thing, the lead on it, clean these pots, because once again those are just sluggish as hell. This one especially is just really bad. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Do some of these. Actually, that's just spinning round and round. That sucker's. Okay, so there's another issue to deal with. But we might at least be able to get some sound out of it and see what the thing is going to sound like. And I mean, frankly, that's going to be about the sum total of this thing's value to me, is just seeing what it sounds like, kind of just basking in the weirdness of having a Kentucky built amplifier. The only other amplifiers that I know that are built in Kentucky are Burris amplifiers. And he does more like, you know, a little bit higher end boutique stuff. He sells a lot of his amps down kind of the Nashville area and stuff. And he's kind of over toward Eastern Kentucky too, I think. Aluminum chassis. It's extremely light. I think I know why this thing is screwed up, because it's been hit right there, basically over the top of this thing. So maybe the whole, I don't know, I can see it spinning. Maybe we can actually repair this. Oh, yeah, see that? The whole thing's just coming apart. See there? How these little tabs are just not even, they're not even holding the thing together. Alright, well, there's that back together. What did I do? I clamp it down in the wrong spot? I'm guessing that's what I just did. Alright, well let's pry it open again. Okay, there we go. Alright, it does at least work now, and also we can glean from this CTS pot that this thing was made in 1978. This pot was, so I'd say this whole amplifier is 1978. Let's get these desoldered, get this off of here. We'll probably have to remove this as well, and we'll bang out this area and get it straight. Okay, this power transformer has really been through hell. It's all bent up here on the bottom, and one of these legs was actually flopping outward when I took the thing off, so I've gotten it banged back into place. There was also one of these little pieces of laminate had come loose and was in the bottom of the cabinet, so I put it back in its place. I guess that's like a shim. Maybe that's, well, no, it's a piece of laminate. See, that's the way they're put together. But one of those was loose in the bottom of the cabinet, so I put it back. I've got these little tabs. I need to tap back down. This thing has just taken a massive whack. Alright. Okay, flatten that one back out. Easy enough. Yeah, well, that didn't really take so well. Okay, that's in better shape. So there's that. We got a like new transformer. Now let's turn our attention to this monstrosity. Okay, so this is an aluminum chassis, so this shouldn't be that difficult to bend back into place. I just don't want to damage anything else in the process. So let's see if we can do this. Well, it's a hell of a lot better. Almost there. It's better than it was. Pretty damn close, actually. I think a couple more. What was that just fell? Okay. I think a couple more small whacks with that rubber mallet might do the trick. See, we've also got this bit to get, and I'm thinking if I can get this off of here and this one out of the way, we can put it in the jaws also and probably straighten this front panel out. Well, I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. it is pretty flat, especially by comparison to where it was. So let's get everything populated back on there and see if we can get any sound out of this thing. Alright, so I forgot about these little end caps being made of aluminum, so there's no soldering to those. So what I've done is just clipped off the other end and left it here in the board, and we're gonna tack on some new capacitors up here on top. Okay, so pretty much everything is back in with the exception of that 3 amp fuse, which we still need to get, and also this thing we're gonna have to replace. That's 3,000 microfarads at 50 volts. I have some 1,000 microfarads I could put here to make up the value, but let me see what else I have. Here's a 100 volt 4700 microfarad. This one should be fine. We're gonna have to really do something to get this thing secured in here. Okay, here we go. We are ready to fire this thing up. We are going to turn on the variac. We'll monitor our voltage here. We're actually monitoring it at the first power node. Here we have our power capacitor wired in here, and we've got it really stable. So yeah, let's fire it up and see what she does. I've got it hooked up to the original speaker. So what we want to do is we should see, because this is a solid state rectifier, so we should see some DC voltage pretty much immediately, and we do. Okay, well I'm probably on about 30 volts on the input, maybe 25 or 30. And I've only got 0.15 volts DC, so that is not right. So somewhere we are not, the rectifier is not working, or the power transformer, something's may be wrong with that. The transformer does not feel hot or anything like that, so nope. Alright, I see some bubbling. Look at that. Right there. We've got smoke. See that? Smoke on all of them. So let's kill that. Okay, a lot of smoke there. So something is definitely not right with our bridge rectifier. Yeah, all four, those are hot. Sizzling hot. Alright, we're going to have to pull this board. Alright, before I really go any further with this, I want to test out my power transformer and just make sure that it's working, because again, this thing took a huge whack on this side of the chassis and the power transformer was just flopping around, and the outer paper on the transformer is a little bit ripped on one little spot, so I just want to make sure that the power transformer is okay. So we'll just apply a little bit of input voltage here and see what we're getting out. Listen to that. It's screaming there. I'm guessing that's got to be... I think that's just from improper mounting. And that's the that outside case had taken such a whack that I think it's not properly fitting. Alright, you can kind of see what I mean here. This thing is, you know, this outer case is just kind of loose, and this shim here is loose, and that's probably what was rattling. That shim right there, I would guess. That's the one I found in the bottom of the cabinet. So here's what we're going to do. We're actually just going to come in here and, well, let's see, let's do it this way. We're just going to raise these tabs this time, and this will allow us to slip this whole thing off of here, and we should be able to tighten it up and then slip it back on. like I said, I think this thing is doing its job. It's just... Oh, well, here's one other problem. I had that shim I put it back on the wrong side. Okay, it belongs on this side. You see there? One of the laminates is missing here, and I had it over here, so I was basically stacking an extra laminate. What I'll use is some nail polish, and I'll lacquer underneath. We'll come back over here when we're done and do it on top as well. Now, with this casing, what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to push these together further. Alright, so we have to spread them outward to get it on. And then right here also we're going to pinch this in a little bit on the sides. We just want it to be nice and snug. Now when we put this on here, see, we'll be pulling it outward, and so it'll have a tendency to clamp onto itself as we put it together. There we go. Now that's snapped into place nice and snug. Alright, I'm going to come in here and just lacquer the hell out of this. Kind of put a layer of lacquer over these two to kind of seal it. Alright, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm taking this fingernail polish, which is essentially just like a nitrocellulose lacquer. It's got some alcohol in it that will evaporate off as it cures, but this is, I mean, it's basically like the same nitrocellulose lacquer that you use on guitar finishes. That's what makes it so handy to have some nice clear nail polish around, because it's really good for fixing guitar finishes, but it's also good for this. What we want to do here essentially is come around all these little boundaries where this thing meets, and we want to just paint on lacquer pretty thick and heavy all along here, especially on these boundaries, but basically over the whole thing, because we want it to have a nice thick layer that's going to subdue any kind of vibrations. Alright, so I have the power transformer reinstalled after re-lacquering it. I've removed all the leads from this end of the board so I could lift it up a little easier. In the process of removing these diodes, and this one just fell right apart on me. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm pretty certain that diode right there had to have been a problem, because like I said, it just came right apart as soon as I touched it. Alright, I've gone ahead and pulled all the pots and the input jacks on this one side, and so I can get a little better look at everything here. I'll make sure everything's cleaned up. We've got some bunch of flux and stuff over here where it's obviously been hot, and that's probably what was burning. Yeah, well, we'll start with cleaning that up. Okay, check this out. I've just cleaned a little bit here, actually quite a lot, and there was gunk stacked there. And look at all this stuff on this Q-tip. I'm just using 91% isopropyl alcohol. That's about as strong a stuff as you can get going to the pharmacy anymore. But you can see all the, I mean, I don't know if this is like cigarette gunk from a long time ago. It just doesn't smell like cigarettes, really, this amp. But I'm thinking this could be like all just cigarette gunk. I might get a rag and just douse it with alcohol and just wipe this whole freaking thing down. But my theory is, whatever that was, if it was flux or whatever, had become conductive and was bridging these two leads, so it's basically shorting out. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Man, look at this. God, that's awful. All right, well, I've done this whole area over here with a rag and some alcohol, and look at the difference. I don't think I'm going to do the whole thing, though. It doesn't really appear to be as gunked up as it was over here anywhere else on this board, so I think I'm just going to let it fly as it is right now. I mean, I don't want to spend forever and a day on this, but man, look at the difference that made. Okay, we're going to go ahead and complete the clean off of this. We'll just wick off some solder here. Yeah, you really want to splay your wick out, because if it's real taut like that, you won't get anything in it. It really needs to have some space between the braids. So there's all that pretty much cleaned up. We'll go over it one more time with the alcohol. Okay, we got the new rectifier soldered in, and now we just need to clip the excess leads rather. Okay, looks good. I don't see it bridged anywhere or anything like that, so I think that's going to be fine. There's a cold solder joint right there I might touch up while I'm down here. That's the one I had to, well, it's not totally cold, but it's not a great joint. I'm going to get right in there with some alcohol as well. This was probably a pretty good looking circuit board at one time before it got all nicotined out. I'm not really sure what this is. This must be nicotine. We've always had a very high incidence of smoking in the state of Kentucky, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're one of the premier, well, I guess we still are, but we definitely used to be one of the premier producers of tobacco. And due to the decline of smoking, that business has all kind of gone away. So needless to say, Kentucky tobacco farmers have been hurt very much like Kentucky coal miners have been hurt by all these changes in attitudes in the world. Now, you know, as far as the smoking thing goes, that's definitely a good thing. That, you know, people are quitting because it's not a good habit. But what we really should do is legalize hemp, or even legalize marijuana, as far as I'm concerned. And if we did that, Kentucky would be poised, I think, to be one of the main producers of those crops. Because pretty much anywhere that can grow tobacco very well is also going to grow marijuana or hemp, industrial hemp, very well. And as far as I'm concerned, I see absolutely no reason to put it off any further, especially over some reefer madness fear campaign that happened decades and decades ago that doesn't hold any scientific water whatsoever. It's just simple fear Anyway, okay, so that looks a lot better. Board's cleaned up quite a bit, and I think we're ready to reassemble it all. Alright, let's try again to fire this up. I've got everything wired back up. At least I'm fairly certain I do. So let's put fire to her. Oh, we got smoke again. Rectifiers again. So what's going on? We've got a short somewhere. Alright, trying to track down what's going on here. I pulled one of the leads of this capacitor. Now this was in my my used capacitor stash. That should have been good. I'm not reading anything at all right there. I'm reading open. Oh wait, no, that's... Yeah, I am reading something. That's shorted. This capacitor is dead shorted. Look at that. I'll be damned. Alright, I've got another one identical to it. This one actually has a bit of a warped top, and I'm afraid that might be blown as well. This probably came out of the same piece of equipment. I have no idea what piece of equipment that was, but for whatever reason I had them stashed away as good. Okay, well this one's actually getting an okay reading. I tell you what, let's hook this one up and see how it performs. It's rated higher. It's rated at 100 volts, working volts. Yeah, it's no wonder that was smoke in the rectifier, because if that was shorted, basically what it was doing is it was pulling all of the current through these diodes directly to ground, so it was just smoking the hell out of them. Now these are still good. They didn't stay long enough. They didn't smoke long enough to really do anything. So we're just gonna try to hook this in with gator clips at first, and we'll see how this goes. There we go. Now we're getting voltage. Okay, we're getting sound at the speaker. Another good sign is the huge vibration that we had earlier on our power transformer is no longer there. I can hear a little bit of a vibration, but it's not bad. We have life. Very excellent. I'm going to let this run for a little bit and just make sure everything's okay. Make sure we don't cook anything in here. Okay, I've been monitoring it for a little while now, and voltages are rock solid. I've reached under and felt of these transistors, and they are not hot at all. Of course they wouldn't be, because I'm not really jamming through it very much, but if there was a major problem or issue or something like that, you would expect them to get hot if there was a problem with the output. Okay, there we are with that filter installed. Got some shrink tubing there, so even if it did move, which it's not going to, that thing is strapped on there, it still wouldn't be likely to short out against anything. So I think we're good to go, man. As far as this thing goes, everything was rock steady. Let's turn our attention to the cabinet. Alright, let's do something now about the speaker. I think what I'm going to do is use the hot glue gun to glue that wafer back on, and then we'll reattach the leads. So there's our glue. Let's let that cure. Then we'll get in there with a soldering iron and iron in those leads. This might be a little bit tricky because it appears that these leads were clipped off right at the point of entry at some point, so they're probably going to be ever so slightly too short. I think I may have to do something drastic here. Alright, my game plan here now is to bend these outer leads in, and we'll use those for the terminals, or for the speaker leads. Okay, well, it's kind of unconventional, I guess, but it is better than having no speaker. So, alright, and now to the cabinet. Let's go ahead and remove this handle. I have a half-assed plan here, but it's nothing concrete, and I'm not real confident we're going to get this to be perfect. Alright, I used a couple of spare pieces of metal to brace this area. It's not really ideal, but it's going to have to do for now. Okay, everything's all back together. A couple notes of things that I have done. I have covered this transformer in some tape, which should help suppress any unwanted vibrations. Also, I have gone ahead and instead of mounting the chassis with screws into the side, what I've done is I've come from the outside. I've gone ahead and drilled it all the way through the holes, and then come from the outside in, and that has allowed me to cinch those up pretty tight, and also to reinforce the top, because now the chassis is also acting as a reinforcement for this top, and it's actually pretty straight now. So everything's looking a lot better than it did. Yeah, if you recall, this was terribly damaged over here, and it's a lot straighter now on the top. I mean, you can see where it was bent, but you don't want to put a whole lot of pressure or anything on it, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. I mean, at least it's got some reinforcement now, and at least the chassis in there in a very, structurally sound way. So I don't think you should have any problems as far as cabinet rattle or anything like that. Hopefully it's a heck of a lot better than it was, and we're ready to give it a listen. So I did some preliminary tone testing last night and came to the conclusion that this thing is going to need a 3-prong cord. It has the original, what I presume is the original. It sure looks original. Kind of looks like a vacuum cord or something, but that needs to be replaced. But it needs a 3-prong cord, so we're going to go ahead and put one of those on there. So we'll yank this thing back out. Also, we're going to put some shielding tape on the roof of this thing. It did not have any, and I should have put some while I was in there, but I didn't. So we're going to go ahead and rectify that situation and put a 3-prong cord, and that should actually eliminate my only complaint about the tone of this thing. I think you're going to be surprised. Okay, I've added some shielding inside of this thing, over here especially where the input resides. I've also added a 3-prong cord with a ground, and I reversed these wires here so that the wire coming in goes to the tip of this fuse holder, and we are ready, I believe, to give this thing a listen. Once the glue dries on this was split here. Somebody put a bigger screw in, so I've glued it back and clamp it in, but as soon as that dries, we'll be able to give this thing a listen. Okay. Okay, something's not right. I'm touching the case of one of the output transistors right there. So something is still not right. I'm gonna have to get back in there and see what's up with that. And it actually gave me a very light jolt as I hit it, so. Never ends with this one. And you can hear just a slight bit of distortion in the background. So yeah, there's definitely something that's still not quite right, and I'm going to have to get back in there and check that out. So anyway, I'm going to leave that right there for now. We may make this the subject of a future video, maybe not. So thanks for sticking around for this long video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, please hit the subscribe button. And for now, y'all take care.